Hello and welcome to the third installment of the ILA Student Council election event. The segment is for the secretary candidates. If you're watching this video on demand or the recording of this live stream, I would recommend watching the presidential candidates video first. At the beginning of that one, I give a lot of information on the candidates and the event. And if you want to watch in a chronological order, that would be president, VP, vice president, which is the one we just did, secretary, which is the one we're doing now, and the final one, treasurer. So without wasting any time, we're going to go ahead and hop into our first secretary candidate, which is Alyssa, and we're going to give her a quick call online. If you're just joining for this segment, for the Q&A session, keep in mind that you have to put your name followed by your question, just so we know who's asking the question. And if you have any burning questions that pop into your head while the candidate is giving their speech, then you can go ahead and type that up, and you can even send it while they're doing their speech. I will scroll through the chat in chronological order. Okay. Hi there, Alyssa. How are you today?
Hello, Calvin. I'm good.
Great. Okay, so we're not going to waste any time. Starting now, you have 10 minutes for your segment, 5 minutes for the speech you've prepared, and another 5 minutes for a Q&A session.
Okay, so hello to everyone watching. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Friday night, and thank you to the election committee for organizing this event. For those who don't know, my name is Alyssa Jones, otherwise known as AJ, and otherwise known as the current secretary for the ILA Student Council. And I'm going to be running to serve as secretary for a second year. And to convince you why you should vote for me, I'm going to talk about some qualifications that I have that I think would be useful for the secretary position. So not only have I been secretary for the last year, but I was also part of the team that basically rebuilt the ILA Student Council by taking part in rewriting the Student Council constitution and creating a more organized environment with the creation of committees and divisions within the Student Council. But obviously, this is something I can't take credit alone for, as my fellow candidate Suzu and current presidential division members Saya and Fiona put a lot of time and effort to do, and I'd still like to believe that I did help out a little bit. I also have great organization skills when it comes to typing out like the main points and ideas that are brought up in student council meetings and writing them into the meeting minutes in a comprehensible way, so that the members can gloss over and get the gist about what the meeting was about easily. And I also have experience in blog writing. I ran a blog article about the Black Lives Matter march that took place in Osaka earlier this year. And I'm currently working on another article about dealing with mental health issues while taking online classes, which should be up soon, and I think which would be a necessary read for all of us. I also happen to be bilingual. I speak both English and Japanese fluently and every day, whether it's to my parents or in class or at my part-time job. And I think this is a skill that will come in very handy, and a skill that I currently use when translating Japanese documents and emails into English for the international students at the ILA. And another important qualification that I have, which I believe would be a lot more valuable than some others may think, is just having experience of being at the ILA. I've seen the ILA system firsthand in person, how the office works, how the student body works and interacts, and also just the atmosphere and environment of the ILA. And now I have experience of an online ILA for the past almost a year. And based off those experiences, I think that I can make valuable decisions and choices as secretary for the next academic year. And as much as I've been talking about myself for the past few minutes and kind of flexing my qualifications, I believe that all of these factors go into making a better presidential division, therefore a better student council, and therefore a better ILA. I want to make the ILA a better place for every student to enjoy the university life, regardless of who is elected president, vice president, treasurer, I want to be the best secretary that I can be for the good of the ILA student body. And so with the with sorry, I'm like sorry. With these points in mind, I encourage everyone to vote for me as secretary of the ILA Student Council, even though I can't speak correctly today. Thank you.
Not a problem. Okay, thank you for the speech there, Alyssa. So we're going to move on to the next segment, which is for Q&A. So you guys can put your questions in the chat. Just keep in mind, again, another friendly reminder, put your name before you ask your question, just so we know who's asking the question. So the first question comes from Suzu, and she asks, what improvements do you think you can make to the secretary position?
Thank you for your question, Suzu. So since the secretary position and the responsibilities that come with it was kind of unclear to me at the time that I joined the student council, this is just something I've been figuring out as I go along. I believe that with each semester that I've been secretary, I've been getting better and better at the job and sort of establishing what a secretary should do. And so to answer the question, I think that by being secretary again, I can become an even better secretary than I already am, and also set a more presiding role within the student council and also within the presidential division as well. And so in terms of my skills as secretary, I can only go up from here.
Perfect. Okay, the next question comes from Avto, and they ask, bearing in mind what you mentioned about mental health and online classes, do you want to focus on mental health? Do you think mental health rather should be maintained even if we go back to physical lectures?
Of course. I mean, I'm someone who struggles with mental health, so I know firsthand how hard it can be to deal with certain mental health issues, regardless of whether class is online or in person. And so something I've suggested to the student council, like the presidential division, is having kind of like a help session, I guess I would call it, just for like the students, where students can like vent out their frustrations, talk about what they're dealing with, because everyone's going through something right now, especially right now. And so if how do you say, in-person classes were to start up again, I think I would definitely want to, sorry, I'm kind of nervous and I don't know how to like put my words together. I would definitely want to, how do you say, I definitely want to help students even if with, I would definitely want to help students even when in-person classes resume.
Okay, perfect. So the next question is from Kenjiro. Don't worry about it. It's a live show. Don't worry. So Kenjiro asks, what do you think of the transition between the council of 2 years ago and now?
Oof. It was a hard transition. We basically had to, like, me, Suzu, the former president of the student council, and then Saya and Fiona, we basically had to restart everything, rewrite the constitution, remake the rules, and then we put in we like made committees for each like job, like Callum, you would know this. We have like the content creation, we have the news updates, and like all those committees, we had to basically make those from scratch, and we had to make a lot of changes. Yeah.
Okay, we have limited time. There's still like a handful of questions, so if you want to speed answer them to the best of your ability. The next question is from Fiona, and she asks, since you served as a great secretary for the last term, have you considered to give a chance to a new member instead and contribute in shaping somebody else for that useful skill?
That is something I've considered. Thank you for your question, Fiona. That is something I've considered, but also considering, and I'm not throwing shade, also considering that my opponent is a freshman who just joined the ILA like this semester, I feel like, and like especially for it being like online format, I feel like this is something that someone with more experience should handle. Obviously, Cassandra is a great person. I'm sure she would make a great secretary, but maybe not now. I still love you, Cassandra, if you're watching this.
Okay, the final question is from Akiko. And she asks, what is the candidate's platform and what is your edge compared to other candidates?
What is my platform? Sorry.
So, what is like your platform and what is your edge compared to other candidates?
I mean, I guess basically what my platform and what I want to do is just make a better ILA compared or like regardless of who is president and who is vice president, because like ultimately they have like president and vice president, they have the most power within the student council. So I want to support them regardless of who's elected. I want to support them in the best way that I can and make the ILA student council function a lot more smoothly, whether it's through the meeting minutes and organizing files and the notes that I take, just to, yeah, I want to keep the student council organized. That's my platform.
Okay, with the last 30 seconds we have here, another last question is from Jinna, and they ask, what would be the greatest contribution you would make as a part of the student council after this election?
After this election, the greatest contribution I can make, well, like I mentioned before, I wrote an article for the blog, and the blog has been a bit inactive recently. It's only been for like news posts, but I definitely want to get it started up and running again for people to just write articles about whatever is on their mind. Like I said, I'm working on an article about mental health, and other people can write about articles like the sport that they're into right now, what the best restaurants in Kyoto, articles about anything really. And I want to open that up to not only student council members, but also whoever in this ILA might have ideas.
Okay, perfect. That's just about time. So thank you, Alyssa, for your time, and best of luck in the elections.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Okay, we're going to move on to the next secretary candidate and final secretary candidate, which is Cassandra, and we'll give them a quick call online here. Keep in mind, we still have the treasurers to go after this. And here we go, call Cassandra. And just for everybody who's wondering, voting does open on November 16th. Hi, Cassandra, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Not too bad. Okay, I'm just going to get your face here on the stream, and we'll get started with your segment. Perfect. Okay, so starting now, you have 10 minutes, 5 minutes for the speech you've prepared, and another 5 minutes for a Q&A. Go ahead.
Okay, well, hello everybody. My name is Cassandra Roberts, and I'm running for the position of Student Council Secretary. I just wanted to start off by saying, thank you all for having me. Thank you, Callum. Thank you, the election committee. I really appreciate the work you guys have put in for this. And I'm both excited and a little nervous to be here. So jumping right into it, before classes started, I joined the student council as a way to immediately make some acquaintances with just some of the students at the ILA, especially with remote learning happening, the time zone differences going on. I knew there wouldn't be too many opportunities to meet any of my peers outside of class. So in my eyes, joining the student council was a great way to broaden my networking pool. It just made sense to me that the more people I know before I get to Japan, hopefully fitting in and getting around would become a little easier when we get there, or at the very least, just less stressful. Trying to navigate and create a life in just a whole new country wouldn't feel as lonely if I already had some friends before I even arrived there. So that was my initial reason for joining the student council, but now especially, I'm just really, really glad that I did. The student council has been nothing but informative, patient, supportive, and friendly in a time where life's just been a bit difficult for everybody right now. They've been keeping me up to date with all this new information coming in, which is especially important amidst the pandemic. And I've been able to rely on them whenever I feel the need to. So basically, even as a first-year student, I already feel like I belong and that I have people I can talk to, both school related and non-school related. So it's a really inclusive environment, even though we're not even able to meet face to face. So I don't think I would have joined the student council this semester, at least, had some of the current student council members not reached out to my batch. And I think the sort of willingness and effort that was exerted by the current student council really compelled a lot of new people from all years at the ILA, not just my batch, to join the student council this year. And it's because the current student council was so welcoming and willing to help and answer questions that they've had so many people joining. And I would like to be a part of that next semester. Hopefully at that point, we'll all be in a better place and a better time, going to campus, meeting face to face. But especially if we're not, I would like to be somebody that the incoming batches or or the current batches can reach out to. And this is a huge reason why I'm running for the student council secretary. The inclusive environment, the event planning, organizing, keeping up to date with information, meeting and keeping in contact with new people, and new opportunities being available have pushed me to want to run for secretary. Furthermore, I'd like to eventually, maybe in a few years, run for student council president, which is another reason I think that aiming for a position like secretary is a really good start. I can observe how student council works while also learning how the student council presidential division operates and what it takes to sort of reach the goals that I have in mind. Finally, I would like to end my little speech with the definition of ambition. Ambition is a strong desire to do or to achieve something, typically requiring determination and hard work, or another definition is simply desire or determination to achieve success. And something that I feel has always separated me from my peers in America has been ambition. Getting to Japan has been a consistent goal of mine since before high school. And it was definitely not one that everybody supported, or sometimes it felt like people didn't really consider it possible almost. But I now go to a great school in Japan. I'm proud of it. I'm proud of myself. And I'm here to continue to aim higher, learning, creating new goals, adapting new goals, and to eventually pursue like an educational career, get the job that I want, and always looking forward. And at this point in the semester, I feel like ambition is important for all of us. I feel like it's important to remember that if you ever feel unmotivated or down, it doesn't mean that you aren't ambitious, because ambition doesn't mean that you have to be at your 100% all the time. It just means that we struggle, and that's okay. Ambition is the desire, the determination, and the hard work that comes with it. It's not giving up. And I think that it's important for us to remember that sometimes just getting through a tough semester proves that we're ambitious, and not giving up proves that we're ambitious. And that is why I chose the quote, "Don't be afraid to be ambitious about your goals. Hard work never stops, neither should your dreams." Thank you all for listening.
Perfect. Thank you for your speech there, Cassandra. So we're going to open up to the Q&A session now. And if you have any burning questions for Cassandra, you can go ahead and ask those in the chat. The first question comes from Matas, and he asks, "What are your strong sides?"
I have a few. I've always enjoyed typing. I do have an associate's degree in psychology. Mental health is something that I think is huge. I focus a lot on culture. Writing is a hobby of mine. And for a little while, I always looked up to my mother because I wanted to be like a businesswoman like she was. And I actually, it's not quite the same, but I looked for basically like bookkeeping and secretary positions, similar here, just organizing, staying on top of things. It just makes you feel good. And it's something that I think I can bring to the table is, with my history in college already, the 2 years I have mixed with my current experience. Sorry, I'm also nervous. I'm like shaking. Mixed with the writing experience I have, I feel like I'm a fairly decent candidate for this position.
Perfect. Okay, great answer. So the next question, I've lost the live stream, so give me like 2 seconds to get it back.
It's okay. I can't see anybody. I wasn't sure if that's normal. Like my screen is black.
Give me 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. My question, so the last question that I see here seems to be Erica's. I lost the chat, so if anyone asked a question before that, just put it back. So the next question comes from Erica, and they ask, how are you going to help organize the ILA Student Council Committee better? So for future elections.
To organize sort of like what AJ was saying, I don't have a lot of experience with the current student council, but I do think that organizing is a really good start. I think a great way to do that would be first focusing on, what the foundations are, what's already set. Luckily, Suzu and AJ, Saya, they've all, Fiona, they've all kind of come in and they've set pretty good foundations. But of course, everything could definitely be improved. And so I think a lot of it would be starting at the bottom and seeing where we can build up from. We only want to, get better. We only want to improve.
Okay, perfect. As I mentioned, I lost the chat, so I have a question from Akiko. I believe, Alyssa, if you asked a question, if you could retype that so I could read it. Akiko asks, aside from your ambition for the student council and the whole ILA student body, do you have any physical platforms, projects that you can contribute to help the student body?
To help the student body, nothing like what AJ was talking about. I don't really share a lot of my writing, although I did used to write quite a bit about mental health, and I used to write history essays for fun. A lot of the focus that I want to put on, honestly, for blog posts when I get to Japan is researching really good study areas and researching historical periods and historical sites, and sort of sharing those. So I don't think it's quite as noble as what AJ mentioned, but I guess a lot of focus would be on mental health, similar to what she was talking about, because that definitely seems to be an issue, I think.
Okay, perfect. We have a couple more minutes here, so the next question is from Alyssa. And she asks, is there something you can bring to the ILA Student Council Secretary position to improve it compared to its current state?
Once again, I don't have a lot of experience with the current ILA presidential division, so I'm not 100% sure what all I'm capable of, I guess. But I think that that's part of what is so unique, I guess, about bringing in a first semester student is a lot of the people before me have already sort of worked out the kinks. They've made mistakes, and not to say that I won't, but it becomes easier to learn from somebody else's mistakes than it is to learn from our own. And so I think, learning from the mistakes of AJ, because I assume, not to say she made any, I just assume in the 2 years I think she said that she's worked here, there's probably been, there's been some as time has passed, but that, and then, bringing my own flair as I started to learn the ropes, kind of coming in with an open mind, because I haven't been here, and I think that could, it could be a disadvantage, but I feel like it could just as well be an advantage, because I'm a clean slate.
Okay, wonderful. We'll finish it off with a pretty light-hearted question here. It's from Kenjiro, and they ask, are you in America? Are you sleepy? How was your morning? Also, I have the same sweater.
I am in America. It is currently, I think 6 or 7 a.m. My time is off on my clock here. Echo, what time is it?
The time is 6:22 a.m.
You know, it's 6:20 a.m. I am very tired. I normally don't stay up this late, but I didn't want to miss this. And I would love to see a picture of your sweater. I think it'd look great on you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Cassandra, for your time, and best of luck in the elections.
Thank you.
All right, we'll catch you on the flip side. Okay, so that wraps up our segment for the secretary position. We're going to move on now to the final position, which is the treasurer position. I want to reiterate that if you intend to vote, I would hang around for that last position, because when you're voting for a presidential division. You're not just voting for one singular position. So I think it's pretty important to know who you're voting for. Also, another kind of housekeeping point, if you want more information on what the positions do specifically, go to the ILA Student Council Instagram page, and you'll be able to find more information on exactly what they do. Finally, candidates have been pretty great. It can be pretty nerve-wracking being live in front of people, but I'm going to end this live stream and we're going to restart it, and it's going to be for the treasurer position. So I'll see you all in a couple of minutes. If you don't get the notification, just refresh the Instagram page until you see the little ILA Student Council live logo thing. Okay, I'll see you guys in just a minute.